Alright guys, so today we're going to be restarting the State of Color series, which we basically go over every color in each video, breaking down the meta leaders that going into the next set, the leaders that are coming out of the next set, as well as some cards you should pick up from the set that may be a little undervalued at the moment from most of the community. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of these videos, if they are informative or helpful to you at all. Hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff there, right? So today, obviously you can tell by the background, we're going to be going over blue. And blue has been in a kind of a time lock, it seems, since set 11. We haven't really seen any new blue leaders really break the forefront, excluding Android 16 for a little bit of time. But these three leaders I feel are probably the best the best blue leaders going into the next set. Now, I think there's no shock that these are the three leaders here. But maybe some people are asking a few questions maybe about Baby, right? But before we get to Baby, we'll kind of just go down the line here. SS4 Vegeta. The only thing that was holding this leader back from being meta or from being, back to being top tier was the fact that Cell Surge was a deck. And a good Cell Surge player could basically lock out the Vegeta player from ever awakening and doing anything until they start ripping all their cards apart from their hand, right? And because Vegeta doesn't really run Self-Awakeners realistically, it was kind of stuck at sitting at this high life total and not being able to draw at all, right? Or not being able to ramp either. And that ended up being a problem for the deck. So that's why the deck was kind of sidelined for a long time. However, now with Cell Surge gone, green's kind of back down in the bubble, unfortunately, since Cell Surge is gone. SS4 Vegeta can rise again and be a very, very powerful blue deck. Obviously, when piloted by the right person. This is this is maybe a few steps below the Invoker deck, just because this has to, you have to actually attack with this card to draw. With Invoker, you can just kind of sit back and do it and kind of do your own thing, right? But this kind of follows that same path of just being a very, very late game blue deck. Hits a bunch of big boss monster cards, which we'll kind of go over here in the video. Soul Striker has been the best leader since set 10 when it got rebooted. I think it was set 10, and no sign of slowing down. This is probably gonna be the best blue deck going into the format. I would say probably one of the top 3, maybe top 4 best decks in the format. And Soul Striker, it's unfortunately because it's in this weird spot, because it is in the only reason why this card should even be thought about, ban worthy, is because it limits card design for the future. Like blue decks, as we'll see with the two blue leaders that are coming out, the blue leaders themselves aren't great. The archetypes that they have are pretty good, but everything just plays better in Soul Striker, right? So it's like almost like why would I play these new leaders when I can just play Soul Striker, and the deck just runs better, right? That's kind of the problem right now. So hopefully Bandai, hopefully in the next set we get a better blue leader that possibly can challenge Soul Striker and kind of push them out of their spot, but we will see. And the last one here is gonna be Baby, Spirit of the Tuffles. So when this card got the errata, everyone thought, oh, this leader's dead. And I think it was for a little bit. However, Cell Surge gone. Goji's got nerfed a little bit. Icarus obviously got it's into the Shadow Realm. We got a bunch of new leaders coming in. I think this new Baby list is going to be pretty epic. I'm not going to share the actual list that one of my teammates is running because he may be playing in one of the regionals, and I don't really want to give away our full spice. But I'll kind of break down a deck that I do have for the leader. But we were going to start with SS4 because that's the first one on the list. This is just a basic list of what I kind of came up with going into the next set. I'm not going to go over the list in their entirety. Just kind of an overview about it. So if you guys want to look at the list, make sure you guys pause, take a screenshot, do whatever you guys want with that, right? Big things to notice here. You have the new Super Saiyan God Negate, which is a 3-drop counter, which has Deflect and Barrier. Stops your opponent's battle cards from attacking your leader, and then you can actually X-Evolve into the 7-drop, which pops everything back to the hand and cannot be, when it's in combat, cannot have, your opponent can't combo at all. So, actually, it's just a cool little endgame card. Just something that I kind of added in here. Is it as good as something like Android 17 or even Kale for being a game ender? Probably not, but just a cool little spice you can run out of as a one-of, where if you can pop it off, it's going to be really, really good. It's going to hit the board and just kind of, demolish your opponent, right? Next leader is going to be Soul Striker, and I did include 2 different versions of Soul Striker here. We have the kind of a blue-yellow variant of the deck, as well as a blue-red variant of the deck. Now, this list is a little different because the idea with this list is kind of running a 2-drop unison. Now, this can obviously just be taken out. This was just kind of a weird test thing. I know people are going to say, oh, why aren't you running baby, right? I was really just testing this to see how good it would be. Just being able to have a unison on turn 2. Yeah, you can awaken early, right? But your opponent's gonna probably get you down there anyways, right? So this hit can obviously be changed out for maybe 2 hits and then like 3 babies. But I think having a unison on turn 2 may be a little bit better for the deck, just to stop a lot of the aggro that we're gonna be getting involved in, especially with Gogeta's, not really being hit too much. Definitely gonna be still kind of a strong contender. And we have a red-blue variant of the deck, which this is probably right now the most popular, which is involving the Invoker stuff. I think it's very cool. Thank God this leader's not a Universe 7 or a mono red leader, right? Can't use the new Promo 8 Android 17. But I think this list is probably going to be the most popular version of Soul Striker, at least going forward. Taking out, not going to talk about 2 other versions of the deck that I do think are probably as good as this. Again, I have some teammates who possibly going to be running these lists. I don't want to, go over too much stuff, right? We're going to kind of leave it at that. Next one's going to be Baby, and this is just just kind of a overview of what a solid Baby deck would look like. The big thing with Baby now is you don't run, you can't play out, a ton of counter plays on the same turn, right? But this is why we're running more extra cards. So we're running cards like Whis Coercion, we're running Fuba. This is going to help us, kind of push our opponent out. And once we get past turn 4, turn 5, we're going to be able to play normal, right? Turn 4, you play Ambu. Turn 5, you play Kale, or a Booney or whatever. And then basically after that, you're just playing big boss monsters every single turn. And so you end up winning the game. Once you get past that turn 5 mark, since Fu is no longer available in the meta, this leader is probably just going to shred most decks. And depending on the blue player, they may get a little spicy with their counterplays that they're going to be running. That's all I'm going to say. I think this deck has a lot of flavor for teching, especially in the best of 1 pre or post siding meta that we're going to have, where Baby's able to side deck before game 1, which is going to change the dynamic of how for one, your opponent is able to play against you, and 2, what you're able to do against your opponent trying to counter you, right? So now we're going to go into the new leaders of the set and just kind of break down some of the ideas that we have for the new leaders. So we have Whis here again. You're going to see this, and I'm going to say this, probably in every video, but if you want to go check out the leader deck profiles that I've done, those are going to be on the channel. Obviously, go check this out if you want a full breakdown on the leaders themselves. Here we have 2 slightly different variations of the deck. I did realize just now that I did somehow forget God Sealing in this photo. I do know God Sealing was actually in the deck. May have been down here or something. So God Sealing is obviously in this deck. This bottom one is a very heavy Beerus deck. As you can see here, we're running a lot of Beerus cards. Just kind of experimenting with, having multiple of these cards, but still running the Kefla as the big game finisher. And this one is a little more competitive. I say that while this one has Baby Hatch in it, right? This one's a little more on the competitive side. I try to push it of being, a little more on, like I said, on the competitive side. But I do think both of these lists are pretty decent. I don't think people are going to be playing this leader as much, though. I think people are just going to be playing the engine cards that are from this leader. We have SS God Crimson Warrior. And again, 2 different variations of the deck here. Top one here, this is going to be your main list. I think this list is probably going to be one of the better lists that you're probably going to play for this leader. I just realized that this top list actually here is the same one that I had posted on the Soul Striker video, so I do apologize. Apparently, somehow this actually got copied over to the same one, so I'm sure you guys have seen Soul Striker list before, so that's not a huge deal for you guys, I'm sure. But the bottom one here, this is a very interesting list because this revolves around using the Majin Buu engine, which I do think is very interesting. I think this also can be played in Soul Striker as well. And actually, I think this was supposed to be the Soul Striker list because I see the baby units in here. Regardless, maybe, I don't know. Now it has this guy here. Never mind. I don't know what's going on. But this is pretty interesting too. I think the Buu archetype is still pretty interesting to use. People really haven't explored this much. I've played against like once or twice, and I've seen some people play it. but it's never really found success, and I don't think people have experimented enough with it, or it's just not really good, right? But I do think blue, because blue is so linear right now, I think trying to find some different ideas and different styles of archetypes you can do, that are good, is something that, to kind of look out for. So this is just kind of another variation of those. And then the last one, which is obviously coming out with the set, but this is a promo leader, which is going to be Super Saiyan God Vegeta Crimson Warrior. This is essentially the new BR leader. And this leader is very interesting because it suffers from not being a Gogeta leader, and not being a blue Gogeta leader, and not being a red Gogeta leader. So a lot of the cards you're playing are a little, we'll say, different. Right? So this is a red-blue list. Both of them are red-blue lists, and you see they kind of vary in what they're running. Both are running the Xeno Unisons here. This one up here is a very heavy going into the fusion targets here, right? Like you're running a full set of both Vegeta and the Son Goku. Which is also why we're running, Topos here. This is kind of like a pseudo ramp strategy. You play the 6-drop to ramp up, and then you evolve with the 8-drop from off the top of that, and then you use this as your game ender here, right? This is a very, very, I would say, kind of a linear idea of what the deck's supposed to do. Bottom one here is, I would say, a little more competitive, but you're using the new counterplay cards from the new set, which these are actually probably two of the best cards in the new set, because if your opponent's energy is tapped, you can actually play this card out with no energy exhaust. So if turn 1 your opponent charges a multicolor, or if they charge something and then play something on turn 1, you have the ability just to charge this in active mode. Now you have your red-blue for the entire game. That's really, really good. There's no need for Mecha Freeze anymore. You just got to get a full put set of these guys here, and you're going to be set. But also, these also count as fusion targets because they're both 10Ks. So we can use them for both of the ramping fusions. We have Godly Auras in there as well, just to kind of round out some stuff. And again, we have the Fusion Onslaught. But in this one, we are running the Broly unit, the Broly SCR, which I do think is a very interesting strategy, being able to basically swing with this, pop it, go into this guy, and now you have this huge Broly on board. Because Broly doesn't need your leader to be a red leader; it just needs to pop a 35K or whatever red card, right? So this is actually extremely powerful. Something to take with some caution, right? I definitely think this I've not tested this at all, but I do think that this leader is going to take some testing. Is it going to be really good? I guess we'll find out. Maybe we'll have a video on the channel at some point. We'll see. So now we're going to go into 3 cards from blue that I do think are very interesting, and I think people should really look at because they have some very interesting characteristics, and they're not. I tried to pick cards that were not SPR or above. So the first one's going to be Super Saiyan Vegeta, the Interceptor. So this is a 3-drop dual attack counter. If your leader is blue, play this card. This card is played, choose 2 of your opponent's battle cards and place them at the bottom of their deck, of their owner deck in any order. The reason why this card's good is your opponent coolers, or they baby, like the golden baby ape, right? Or they just do whatever. Like being able to counter, it's really powerful. Your opponent, baby hatches. You can play this in response, bottom deck their baby hatch, and bottom deck another card. And then when it comes into play, it is a 20k dual attack. This card now, it's going to sit on board as a 20k dual attack, and it gives you so much value. This is definitely a card that's going to be fit probably in every Soul Striker deck as a side deck card. I would think as a side deck card, and probably SS4 Vegeta. Not so much probably in Baby and some other decks. Now this next card here is probably my favorite blue card coming out of the new set. Grand Priest, Invitation to Battle. This is, in my opinion, the new unison you will run in Soul Striker if you are playing blue-yellow. This is what you're going to run over Baby. This is what you're going to run over Gogeta in the main deck. The reason is, activate Battle. Switch this card to rest mode. Choose up to one of your blue God cards in your energy. Switch it to active mode. And choose up to one God card with an energy cost of 1 in your hand and use it in the combo. The reason why this is good, you can run the majority of the Whis engine in Soul Striker. And that just gives you a whole nother type of blue archetype to run, right? Having that, it's like a 20k double strike that can restand itself, restand a God card. But this allows you to restand your few Zamasus that you will end up charging, the Zamasu, the Eliminator, that you can charge with this paired with your leader. You're restanding 3 energy. That's insane, right? Being able to restand 3 energy, using being able to use that multicolor, that's really, really powerful. This just makes a lot of your counterplays live. This just makes it so that you can really run some very interesting things in the deck. And this also goes for any blue god. So Soul Striker, there are probably 3 different builds of Soul Striker that are all different multicolor combinations. You have the blue-green, you have blue-red, and you have blue-yellow. And there are god cards for all 3 of those sets. This also doesn't have to be multicolor god. It just needs to be a god. So if you have a Beerus in your I don't know, in your energy, if you have a Goku Black, if you have, you know, a Fuzamasu, like there's just so many. If you have an Angel, you know, you have so many cards you can pick. This card being able to restand all those is incredibly powerful. And then also -3, you put a play the battle card higher than their current energy, you use this card and bounce it back to their hand. The reason why this is good is that this works as a secondary god sealing, right? So let's say you god sealing a card back to your opponent's hand, realistically like something like Supreme Kai, right? Where you bounce it back, then they go to tap a second, you know, energy to play it back out, and they don't have any more energy, you can just -3, bounce it right back to their hand, right? Problem is that the card does hit the board, so it's going to get any effects off once it hits the board, but the fact you can get rid of it is really powerful. Actually, this card would actually bounce Supreme Kai from the game, because when Supreme Kai is removed from the game, it's removed. So yeah, so this actually would be pretty nuts. Yeah, your opponent plays something like one of the secret rares, just -3 on it, bounce it to the you know the Shadow Realm. Very, very powerful card. Like I said, I think this is going to be one of the underrated cards going into the next set. And the last card here is going to be Beerus, Combative Impulse. Another card that's probably going to be played in Blue-Yellow Soul Striker. This card's played as one of your opponent's battle cards. Switch to rest mode. This is a 16k double strike. Auto, when this card attacks and KOs on opponent's battle card, you draw a card, switch this to active mode, and you place 1 card from your opponent's life at the bottom of their deck. This is absolutely nuts. Like being able to swing at something and then just like use the Grand Priest effect in combo with one of these on top of it to make it a 26k. Means if you're swinging at a 15k, your opponent has to combo up to 30 to save it, and sometimes it's just not worth it, right? This being able to kill cards, draw you a card, and then crit a life from your opponent is just ungodly, and how powerful this card is. So thankfully, I didn't get the SR treatment. I think this card is right on the line of being SR power level, but just doesn't quite make it. Maybe because like the auto when it's played doesn't kill something. That would be really, really nuts. But this card is really, really good. So hopefully you guys pick this card up. But that does it for me for today in the video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of these State of Color videos. Let me know what color you guys want to see next. I will try to be releasing one of these per day until the pre-release day. So just to give you guys some extra information going into the official release, which will be 2 weeks from now. So you guys can check that stuff out. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.